What's up, everybody? Thanks again for tuning in to Tankers Fantasy Football. We're going to get to Week 6 here of the NFL season. We're going to go through some matchups again, maybe some buy low, sell highs kind of thing. And we're going to start off with the Thursday night game where we got the Broncos going to San Diego.
I'm talking about, I know C.J. Anderson's been on them ropes lately, averaging only under 3-point yards a carry these last 3 weeks, and in PPR he's only gotten you 5, 12, and 9 fantasy points, and that 12 he actually found the end zone. So these are not very savory, but his matchups coming up are really good, people. He's got 2 games against the Chargers on the docket and going down to New Orleans to play the Saints, and they like to give it up out there on defense. And then he's got the Raiders and the Texans, and the best team out of those is the Raiders, and they're like 25th against the rush. I know you might be hating on C.J. Anderson, but I'm telling you, C.J. Anderson is a great buy low candidate. He's still getting the workload out there for the Broncos. He really is.
And I know this is kind of tough to swallow, but Melvin Gordon might be a great sell high. Even though he's got Denver, I still think he's going to play very well against Denver. You look at Tevin Coleman getting 4 catches for over 130 yards. And really, their rush defense isn't that stout. It's 22nd in the NFL. And when you're talking about Denver D, they're just really not getting it done against running backs. So I think Melvin Gordon can put up a good week this week. But moving forward, his yards per carry is just not there.
No, he's only averaging 3.4 yards a carry on the season. Like we said about those Denver Broncos run defense, they're even giving up big games against bums like Jeremy Hill out there. That's the only relevance Jeremy Hill's had all year.
That's the only game he's had all season.
Was when he played against the Broncos. So, I'm thinking, I think you might ride Melvin Gordon one more week out there this Thursday night. And then I think it's all systems go with a sell high. The guy's had 7 touchdowns already this season. And he can't keep those touchdowns. He would have 25 touchdowns at the end of this year if he kept those up. That's like 3rd best all time. I know, people. I know. He can do it. No, he can't, okay? No, he can't. No, it's impossible. And if these touchdowns start going down, these yards per carry is gross. 3.4 yards a carry? The coach said we're going to keep giving Melvin Gordon the ball. And I know he says they're going to keep giving Melvin Gordon the ball. But the fact that they even bring up the fact that that's a thing is a little worrisome. What do you mean is you're going to keep giving the Melvin Gordon the ball? I assumed you would, but now it's even a question? If he has 2 or 3 more weeks sub 4 yards a carry, I know they only have bums like Dexter McCluster out there. But my goodness, if he stops getting these catches that he's been getting these last 2 weeks, we could be looking at very pedestrian numbers moving forward, people. I think it's a great sell high after this Thursday matchup against the Broncos.
Yeah, I think Phillip Rivers, if you have another quarterback, I think you got to consider benching him, which I know is tough because, he's a first-tier quarterback. But Denver has played very well against all quarterbacks so far. They're a top 3 passing defense. It's just not a good matchup for Uncle Phil out there.
Uncle Phil's weapons are banged up, and his offensive line is banged up. But I just don't know. On a short week, playing, I know they're playing in San Diego, but I just don't know. If you got anybody on your bench, and I'm talking about anybody, I'm talking about my boy Brian Hoyer. From the Chicago Bears having 3 300-yard games in a row out there. And if you're looking to waiver wire a guy like Brian Hoyer, I think you should run him out there over Phillip Rivers this week. I really do.
All right, let's get into the Sunday games here. Let's go 49ers against the Buffalo Bills, who are winning games, and they've got some good wins on their resume.
3 wins in a row, Bills, against the Cardinals? Patriots, and I know it was the brisket Patriots out there, not them Tom Brady showcasing main event and sexy boy Patriots, but still in Foxborough nonetheless. When's the last time the Buffalo Bills won in Foxborough? I don't even know. And those West Coast trips are tricky. The Rams have been on the rise. They were winning 3 games in a row out there. Their defense is looking stuffing. You have McCoy go out there and shred them for $150 on the ground. And I know he didn't get in the end zone, people, but His yards per carry has been so good this year. It really has. What is it out there? Like 5.3 yards a carry this season? I mean, my goodness, he's averaging 21 touches a game. I mean, all systems go, especially against this awful 49ers rush defense.
Oh, it's next to last. It's 31st. It's so bad. They
Awful.
look at David Johnson. I mean, he just shredded them last week.
I mean, we're talking about a West Coast team coming to that East Coast, and that's always a tough thing to do with that 2-hour time shift. And we're talking about a 31st ranked run defense coming from the West to the East. I mean, that could be a bloodbath out there for Sean McCoy this week. It really could. We could be looking at running back one of the week out there with Sean McCoy.
We could be talking 150-yard McCoy.
Oh, we could, yeah. If he touches the end zone a couple times this week, I mean, we could be talking about our top running back of the week with Sean McCoy. There's no reason we couldn't. Really not.
Yeah, he's the guy. If he stays healthy, there's absolutely no reason why this guy isn't a top 5 back by the end of the year. Absolutely no reason.
He's had 3 weeks in a row of over 20 points, and he only had 2 games all of last year of 20 points or more. I mean, that's a great sign of things to come. It really is. He's turning it around out there. He lost weight in the offseason. I mean, you know when those running backs lose weight in the offseason, it always turns into sexitude out there.
Yeah, last time McCoy lost weight going into the season was when he was with Philadelphia and won a rushing title. So talk about the other running back in this game, Carlos Hyde. He's doing it for you out there.
Oh, doing it. Besides that bad week 2 when he gave you 6.2 points in PPR, he's been averaging 21.8 points in PPR those other 4 weeks. He really has. I mean, he's been getting it done. He found his into the end zone 6 times already. I mean, my goodness. He's got 13 catches, and I know that's not an incredible amount, but that's like 2 or 3 a game. And for a guy like Carlos Hyde getting 2 or 3 a game, getting this workload on the ground, I mean, that's been getting it done for you. It really has. And you've been running out there your RB2, and I mean, he's RB2, borderline RB1 for the rest of the year. All systems go. I mean, until further notice. There's real life out there, Carlos Hyde, and I'm not even a believer, but look at these numbers. It's hard to hate on the guy.
In kind of the same format there, guy you don't really believe in, but getting it done. Jeremy Curley's got back-to-back 20-point games, and I think he had a 20-point game week 1, too. So he's got 3
of 5.
3 of 5 20-point games. And I think if there's a sell high, I mean, this could be your dude.
I mean, he really could. I mean, you should sell high. I mean, they're even changing quarterbacks, and who knows if Kaepernick's going to favor him as much as Blaine Gabbert is. I mean, I know Colin Kaepernick's kind of a bum, but at least Colin Kaepernick can throw outside the numbers. I mean, Blaine Gabbert can't even do that. I mean, Torrey Smith is a ghost. He doesn't exist with Blaine Gabbert. I mean, if you have any belief in Torrey Smith at all, I mean, I know he's a straight waiver wire dirt bum, but if he's out there on the waiver wires, I mean, I might even pick him up to give him a look out there to see what Colin Kaepernick favors, because who knows if it's going to be Curley.
Yeah, it's pretty much week 1 again for the San Francisco offense. I don't even know what's going to happen.
You can't start Curley with confidence with the quarterback change like this. It's not like Jeremy Curley's a stud muffin out there. I mean, he's just kind of been wallowing in the muckery filth that is Blaine Gabbert with these 10, 15-yard passes. He refuses to go downfield. And I mean, Jeremy Curley's with these back-to-back 20-point weeks. I mean, if you can find a believer out there, I'd sell Jeremy Curley as high as I could right this second.
All right, let's get into the Philadelphia Eagles coming off that first loss, going into Washington against the Redskins there. And I'll tell you what, these two teams, they've got a lot of guys that get the cheese. There's just really no guy in either one of these offenses besides like Jordan Reed that you can absolutely fall in love with.
I mean, Jordan Reed he's been pretty good, but he hasn't really been that complete sexy boy for you out there. I mean,
he's had the multi-touchdown game, but that's been the only game he's got in the end zone.
Yeah, that's been the only. He had that 2 touchdowns week 4, but other than that, he has yet to find the end zone in those other 4 games. I mean, he's averaging 15.3 points in PPR out there for you, and that's pretty good for a tight end. But if you take out that big week, it's more around that 10-11 range, and I don't know. I mean, I know 10-11 is still good for tight end, but that's not second tight end off the board, 3rd round average draft position value by any means. It really isn't. And all these other guys, like, who the hell even knows what's going on with that Philadelphia backfield? People start falling in love with Wendell Smallwood, and that bum only got 1 snap last week. So what the hell? I mean, Darren Sproles led this team in snaps last week, and I don't think there's any way, shape, or form you can go out there and rely on Darren Sproles with any sort of confidence. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, that's a stretch. I mean, Darren Sproles, RB3, I mean, maybe, but I mean, you're not in love with it by any means. Ryan Matthews had the most PPR fantasy points last week, but he played the second fewest snaps. He lost that fumble that probably cost him the game. And who knows going forward? You can't even pencil in any of these running backs and feel any sort of confidence in it. You can't.
And the receivers, too. I mean, you thought Jordan Matthews, he might have been, your second wide receiver all year for you. And then his targets have just dropped drastically. There's just so many mouths to feed in that offense. You look at Green, Beckham, Aguilar, Matthews, Ertz, Huff.
Sproles has been catching them balls. I mean, it's ridiculous out there, people. I mean, Matthews only had, 7 targets the last 2 games he's played combined? I mean, that's not go-to receiver numbers by any means. It isn't. I mean, 7 targets combined, weeks 3 and 5, because they had that week 4 bye week. I mean, my goodness. I mean, they didn't go in there during the bye week and say, you know what we should do, increase Jordan Matthews' targets. Apparently, they didn't do that at all.
I mean, last week, you were wondering if this guy was going to have a 0. It seemed like fourth quarter, you didn't even hear his name called.
He was rolling in the fourth quarter with 3.7 fantasy points in PPR, and you're like, oh my goodness, and somehow he caught a couple more balls to get that up to a 4 for 60 out there and get you 10 points, but, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess you can write him down for wide receiver 3, but it is scary going forward. I mean, if he's only going to be seeing 3 and 4 targets going forward, I mean, he just mustered up to catch all 4 of his targets. That's how he got them 10 points. And maybe he starts not catching all these 3 or 4 targets. I mean, bum city. It could turn into bum city fast. I mean, apparently Carson Wentz does not have a go-to guy out there, and that's scary for Jordan Matthews owners.
In Washington, on the other side, they've had guys just start to fall off cliff, too. Crowder's targets have dropped, and then Djax is just left the team nearly.
Djax has 1.5 and 6.5 the last 2 weeks in PPR. I mean, that is not getting it done. You can't even think of confidence in these guys anymore. I mean, Jordan Reed is your only Washington Redskin that you can have any vote of confidence in. It really is. It's ridiculous. I mean, you can't have confidence in Matt Jones out there. I mean, sure, he had 100 yards and a touchdown week 4, but he went out there and completely just laid an egg last week, getting back down to that 2 yards a carry, couple catches, end of day. I mean, I think that's more Matt Jones.
And there's talk about Matt Jones is going to be losing some carries, too.
Who knows? I mean, Matt Jones, you can't have any confidence in starting Matt Jones going forward. You really can't. You just got to bench him and hope for the best. Hopefully he turns it around, but I just don't think he will.
All right, we got the Tennessee Titans hosting them Cleveland Browns, who might be getting Josh McCown back this week.
If Josh McCown plays, I think you got to upgrade Terrell Pryor, and I think you got to maybe upgrade even old Gary Barnidge out there. I mean, Josh McCown, I think, likes Gary Barnidge more than anybody on the face of the earth. And, I mean, Terrell Pryor.
More than his mom.
More than his own mother. I mean, Terrell Pryor, I mean, he's the guy getting them. He's the best player on this offense, I think. He really is. I mean, as far as, all-around athletic ability goes, I think you got to give it to Terrell Pryor, and I think you can write Terrell Pryor down with wide receiver 3 numbers going forward if Josh McCown's going to be at that helm for them Cleveland Browns.
Let's talk about DeMarco Murray for a bit here.
Blowing it up. People that drafted Murray in the 4th or 5th are in love with it.
I mean, this guy's averaging 23 points a game in PPR. That is incredible. 23
points a game. He's had 5 or more receptions in 4 of the 5 games this far. I mean, my goodness, people, that's PPR gold. And his snap counts haven't been going down. I mean,
look at Derrick Henry. Where's his production gone?
I mean, he's had a little spell work here and there, and Derrick Henry had a nice 20-yard run last week, but that's about it. I mean, I don't even think Derrick Henry touched the field in the whole second half last week. I don't think he did. I mean, we're talking workhorse back. We're talking about DeMarco Murray. He's averaging 5 yards a carry. The Titans love to run the rock. He's getting the goal line work. He's getting them catches. I mean, he's that boy going forward for them Tennessee Titans. He is. And, I mean, Delaney Walker turned it around a little bit last week, but as far as relying on anybody, I think DeMarco Murray might be your only boy. And, I mean, Delaney Walker is going to be top 10 tight end going forward, I do believe, and with top 5 upside. But, I mean, DeMarco Murray's just out of his damn mind.
And I think, Crowell's kind of been your RB2 so far this year. But against this Titans front seven, they've got a pretty stout defense. They've eliminated a lot of running backs so far this year.
Shutting them down out there. And I think Crowell's a sit this week. I know he was producing solid RB2 numbers weeks 1 through 4, and he kind of laid an egg out there for you last week. But the Patriots, Keon wanted Keon to shut down the run game because that's the only way they know the Cleveland Browns can even hope to do anything. So they did that, and Crow had a bad week. But this Tennessee Titans defense playing in Tennessee, watch out. If you have any other options, I think I might sit old Crow this week. We're getting into them Ravens going to New Jersey to play them New York Giants.
Odell finally found his way in the end zone, trying to have a little fun out there, hugging nets.
He's trying to make people feel good about him, start talking about him so much, and I feel him on that. You don't want people out there. Every move he makes, people are questioning his judgment, and that sucks. But he has made some very questionable decisions as of late. I think we should put it under the rug. And as far as, they talked about even punishing him if he keeps up this bulk. I don't think they will punish him. And the Giants can't go out there and sit Odell Beckham for 2 games just because he has a hissy fit. But, they're threatening it, so that might be enough to settle his ass down. What do you think?
Let's talk about one of the main stories going into this. The Chicago Bears know about this, but Mark Trestman fired and the main reason was because he just wasn't running that rock.
Oh, he's just awful. We know how he is, Bears. He's the 3-ring circus of out there. And the Ravens finally realized it. They were averaging 6.2 yards of ground last week and 4.6 yards of pass attempt. And for some reason, this bum kept calling pass plays in a game that they were leading for most of the game and never trailing by more than 1 score. What are you doing, Mark Trestman?
West had averaging 8-9 yards a carry. He was rolling out there.
Rolling 11 carries for 95 yards, people. That's grinding out there.
And if he's still on waivers, you have to.
You have to all in on him. You have to. I'd say you'd even try to buy low. The guy didn't get in the end zone. People think it's just Terrence West. He might not be nothing special, but I'm talking about RB3, possibly RB2 radar going forward. I know people are on that Kenneth Dixon train, but he has a stone cold Steve Austin knee brace out there.
And still has yet to play an NFL snap.
Yeah. We're talking about a rookie that hasn't played an NFL snap wearing a stone cold Steve Austin sized knee brace. And I know it's Terrence West, but let's talk about 6.2 yards of carry. Terrence West might got Mark Trestman fired out there because he was so good. So for at least these next couple weeks going forward, that new offensive coordinator is going to be running that ball 20-25 times a game just to prove a point. He really will be.
Yeah, I think West's floor this week has to be at least 15 carries. That's as absolute floor.
If they're talking about, I'd say 15 to 20 carries. They're going to run that ball. They have to.
They have to after firing him for that's his only reason.
Yeah. I know the Giants are pretty stiff against the run, but I think it's all systems go RB3 Terrence West this week. I really do. Well, let's hit on Mike Wallace real quick. He had a hot start weeks 1 and 2, but the guy's only had 1 game over 63 yards this season. I know he's had 20 targets these last 2 weeks, but he's only parlayed those 20 targets into 24 PPR fantasy points. That's pretty rock dirt bottom. It really is. I know with old Steve out, you might say onward. Mike Wallace is a solid wide receiver 3 play. Maybe he is. If you're hurting out there and Mike Wallace is your wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, I'm not really hating on that.
And especially against this matchup, the Giants' secondary has been awfully banged up, have not looked too good. So if you do have him as your 3 or 4, it's not a bad play.
Yeah, I'd say all systems go wide receiver 3 this week against the Giants. Old Steve misses action. He's going to get 10 targets. He probably at least get you 10 to 12 fantasy points. That's not the worst thing in the world for a wide receiver 3 out there. I'm bringing the Panthers going down to New Orleans to play them Saints. I don't know. Cooks has been on them ropes. And people kind of been hating on him. And he hasn't had a catch in the second half of the last 2 games he's played. But I'm telling you to buy low on Brandon Cooks while you have the chance, people. The Panthers have been giving it up to wide receiver. I mean, who lit him on fire? Julio Jones lit him on fire week 4. And then Mike Evans had a very sexy game out there Monday Night Football against them.
And the only reason Mike Evans didn't completely lose his mind is because Winston played so awful and was throwing. I mean, he had some of the worst decisions I've seen him make so far in his career. He's throwing Evans in like double the triple coverage, hoping a prayer that he even gets close, and Evans is playing defense.
Yeah, I mean, they've been just giving up. The Panthers have not had a solid secondary this far this season. Where are they even ranking out there against the pass? I mean, my goodness.
Carolina's 15th.
It's the middle of the road, but they have been giving up.
But lately, it has been very bad.
Yeah, lately especially against the top receivers of the respective football teams, they've been giving it up. And I know Drew Brees likes to spread the ball around, but I think Brandon Cooks a very good buy low going forward. I really do. Another buy low in this game you can kind of get right now is Kelvin Benjamin. I mean, since those 2 weeks hot start, he's at a 0, and, he had a 13 and a 12, which is okay, but that's not, making people feel real good about him. So if you can go out there and steal him and turn him into your wide receiver too, I'd be all systems go on that.
I think you got to expect another huge game out of Greg Olsen. I mean, who would have thought he'd get nearly 30 points and he couldn't even find the end zone? What tight end is able to do that?
I mean, Derek Anderson loves Greg Olsen, apparently. I mean, they're talking about Cam Newton coming back this week, but my goodness, 20 yards a catch tight end? Greg Olsen, it's like the Buccaneers just decided not to cover him out there.
In the New Orleans defense, I mean, it's another fantastic matchup for him. I mean, it doesn't get any better than Tampa Bay secondary and then New Orleans secondary right after it.
Oh, well, I think we might be looking at the top tight end for this week and Greg Olsen this week. I really do. I know Gronk and Corn were getting it done in their game, but I mean, against the Saints coming off a 180 burger, I mean, Greg Olsen's all systems go. In my top tight end rank of the week, he is.
What about a guy who might be selling high here?
Yeah, if you can get a buyer on Artis Payne, I'd sell like hotcakes. I mean, you never know. I mean, him and Fozzie could go either way. J-Stu's supposed to be coming back this week. If you could sell him to the J-Stu owner for anything, I'd be all in on it. Breaking down that matchup of the week here.
Our favorite game of the week here. We got these Jacksonville Jaguars coming off their bye.
Playing in Chicago. The two teams have combined for, yes, that is 2 wins. Well, that's okay. We're going to have it out here. I think Allen Robinson might lose his damn mind out there for you Jacksonville Jaguars / fantasy football owners. And he's going to have a big game. I mean, T.Y. Hilton blew up a wind chills out there against the Bears last week.
30 on you. I mean, this is not going to be a pretty game, I don't think, but I think there's actually going to be a lot of fantasy sexiness going on. I think Allen Robinson
might be looking at a shootout out there with the way Hoyer's been throwing for 300 yards, too.
I think Bortles and Hoyer, they both can have over 300 yards, both multi-touchdowns, and I think Jordan Howard's going to have a heyday.
I mean, Jordan Howard, Bears, I mean, my goodness, he might be the best thing we got going, Bears. We better hang on to him tight and not even think about giving carries back to this bum Langford. I mean, Howard has looked so sexy. He's 5.8 yards a carry on the season and 10.2 yards a reception on the season. Carlos Hyde, a guy like Carlos Hyde, has 5.1 yards a catch on the season, and Howard has doubled it at 10.2. I mean, my goodness, Howard. He's had 20 touches these last 2 weeks when he's got the start, so that's fantasy gold. That's RB1 touches. That's workhorse back opportunity. And, I mean, he's taking this opportunity to run with it. I know he only got into the end zone for his first time last week, but I think there's plenty more of them to come.
I think you can expect another very good game from Zach Miller Band. I mean, this guy, ever since the Hoyers came in the lineup, this guy's been, like, top 5 tight end.
He lit the world on fire out there. And he's averaging 18 PPR points since Hoyer's taken the helm. And my goodness, Zach Miller. I mean, all systems go. Every week, tight end started. And I know that sounds absolutely belligerent madness. But I'm telling you, it's true until further notice, unless the bum of Jay Cutler steals his job back. I mean, if that happens, Bears, that's just going to make me sick.
I mean, I almost feel comfortable throwing him in as my flex. If you got another strong tight end that you want to play, I think you can put Zach Miller in as a flex play.
I mean, averaging 18 points a week these last 3 weeks. I mean, Zach Miller, baby. Let's
And Jacksonville
go.
always struggles against tight ends. They just don't have. But Miles Jack for the Jags is looking like he's going to get more playing time, and he would be the guy that can match up against tight ends because before they're putting Paul Posluszny on him.
Oh, Paul
And they're
Posluszny.
finding him on one-on-one coverage with Travis Benjamin.
Oh, and then another waiver wire ad for the Bears. Cameron Meredith coming out of just left field out there, getting 12 targets, 9 catches for $130 and a touchdown. Bears. I mean, my goodness. I mean, I know it might be a flash in the pan, and it might not, but I'd really to take that risk and pluck him off the waivers if I was you. I really would.
I mean, this is some of the best upside at a receiver position I've seen in a while in Chicago.
He looks spry. I mean, Eddie Royale with cheese, he's always banged up and he's old and he's going to have a game here or there, but I think he might already had his game of the year. Eddie Royale might be done. I mean, Kevin White's done, and Alshon Jeffries look banged up out there. And I mean, we could be talking about the wide receiver 2 going forward for the Chicago Bears. And I mean, if he gets that many snaps with Brian Hoyer at the helm, and we might be talking about wide receiver 4 production from Cameron Meredith out there. That's crazy.
Let's even talk about Alshon a little more. He doesn't even have a touchdown on the season yet. He does not look himself. He has yet to have over 5 catches in a game and not over 7 targets in a game.
Yeah, I just said Cameron Meredith had 12 targets last game. And Alshon Jeffrey, our supposed boy, has yet to even have over 7 targets in a game. I mean, my goodness, Bears.
This is a guy you're expecting to just be an absolute target monster. Who else they going to throw the ball to?
I mean, he's averaging 12 points a week in PPR. I mean, that's wide receiver 3 numbers. That's not wide receiver 1 where you drafted him. That's wide receiver 3 numbers. I mean, bottom tier wide receiver 2, borderline wide receiver 3. It is not sexy. And I don't see any sign of it turning around for you. I mean, I guess he's a good buy low candidate if you're a believer and you think these targets are going to start showing up, but I mean,
I don't even think it's worth the risk.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not in on it.
Injury problems, just has not looked himself. And people are saying, well, maybe he gets it going this week against Jacksonville. And I'm going to say absolutely not, because Jalen Ramsey has played very, very good ball as a rookie. He's going to look like the next shutdown corner in the AFC. He's playing very, very well matching up against these top-end receivers.
I mean, you limited T.Y. Hilton to 53 yards out there in week 4. And they're the 7th-ranked pass defense. I mean, I don't know. I'd be afraid of starting Alshon this week. I really would. And I know you have to because what the draft price you paid for him, you probably don't have anybody on your bench. But I wouldn't expect anything good. And I wouldn't really expect him to turn anything around this week out there against the Jaguars.
All right,
Moving on.
Next one here, we got the LA Rams and those Detroit Lions.
Coming into Motown are them Rams. And Marvin Jones, you know, he's cooled off a little bit after his blow-up week 3 against the Packers, dropping 38 points out there. He's got 12 and 13 the last 2 weeks. And I know people were talking about Marvin Jones as a wide receiver 1, and that's just complete belligerent. I mean, I know he's that wide receiver 2 guy, but Marvin Jones wide receiver 1, I mean, Marvin Jones top 10 wide receiver at the end of the year, I'm just not in on it. And I think he's going to be top 20, but top 10 wide receiver at the end of the year, I am not believing that whatsoever.
Yeah, he's still obviously going to be the heavy favorite for targets in that offense because Golden Tate, it's almost like he doesn't even play anymore.
No.
I mean, his production has just fell off a cliff this season.
I mean, I guess you can feel safe dropping him, but I don't know. I guess I just bury him on your bench until further notice. Maybe give him 2 or 3 more weeks, but I think that's about it.
Another Detroit guy, Theo Riddick. He's almost like a Jeremy Hill on steroids. He's going to get you 100 points or 0 out there.
He's got 2 games over 26 points in the first 5 weeks, and that is very sexy and very tasty. But he also got 312, and I know, his lowest mark is 9.8 in PPR, which is still pretty getting it done for, RB2. And I think he's a very solid RB2 going forward until anything changes for the Lions. I mean, Washington's hurt, Abdullah's hurt. I mean, only got Zinner, and we saw how god-awful, filth, puke, garbage he looked last week. I mean, my goodness, Zach Zinner.
And talk about the Rams for a little bit. Gurley had his first 100 total yard game of the season. Took him till week 5 here, but he finally found his way. And I think Gurley can finally be in that conversation of maybe being an RB1 again. They're talking about getting his catches going, working on the passing game. I'm still not in love with the guy, but I think you can feel a little bit more confident putting him in your lineup.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to start the guy. You paid the piper for him. He's your boy. And I know his yards per carry is down, but at least his... I mean, if you're in PPR leagues, at least his pass receptions have been going up these last 2 weeks. So that's saving your life out there.
I think he's got 8 catches the last 2 weeks here combined.
His receptions these last 2 weeks have been saving your life out there. And we're going to talk about, probably the best Rams passing offense, Tavon Austin and Brian Quick had his little day in the spotlight out there week 4, but I think that's come and gone. And Tavon Austin, I don't think you can rely on anything Rams passing offense. This guy's only averaging 9.5 yards a catch. He hasn't had over 60 yards receiving in any game, and he has only 1 touchdown of the year. I mean, this is completely unsavory for the Rams passing game.
All right, let's go into Miami. Dolphins hosting Pittsburgh Steelers, and Roethlisberger is about as hot as anyone out in the league.
Oh, he's losing his damn mind out there, Roethlisberger. He's had the best. He's been like the QB1 the last 2 weeks, hasn't he, out there in fantasy world?
Over 70 points, wasn't it?
Well, that's
a couple weeks ago.
High quarterback point.
If you're playing a point every 10 yards there.
Yeah, and the madness of that, But the Steelers, I mean, Sammy Coates, like we told you last week, people, I mean, Sammy Coates was a great start. We told you to do it. We hope you did, because we did, and by God, it was sexy. He almost had 3 touchdowns. If he could have
should have had 3.
Squeezed his mitts on that second one, he could have had 3 touchdowns out there. But his targets been going up. He's had 4 targets week 3, 8 week 4, and 11 targets last week. And he still has a 40-yard catch or better in every single game. I mean, for the Huckett-Chuckett football team of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, I'm talking about Sammy Coates, a solid, reliable wide receiver 3 moving forward.
It's crazy.
That's crazy talk.
Every single game, and we're not talking 2 games here. We're talking 5 straight games where he's caught a ball over 40 yards.
I mean, that's special.
That's as great of a consistent down the field players you can get.
Deshaun Jackson eats your heart out. Sammy Coates is the one catching them deep balls for National Football League out there.
And he's getting more involved with the screens and things like that, where in PPR you gotta love. I mean, just these little extra points that you're getting every week from him.
I mean, Cell Systems Go, I think he's the clear-cut second guy on this offense in the passing game. I really do, behind Antonio Brown, and defenses are paying the world of attention to Antonio Brown, so that's what's going to open up these no safeties over the top 70-yard touchdown like we saw last week for old boy Sammy Coates out there. And I think you could start him with confidence again this week against those awful Miami Dolphins. I mean, my goodness, Dolphins.
I mean, the other receiver on the other team, we're talking about Jarvis Landry coming off the worst game of the season so far. This is his first game where he's held under 7 catches. And for 4 straight weeks, at least 7 catches is pretty awesome.
Oh, PPR realms, he is still steady when ready for you. But if you're in standard, I mean, this guy is almost unstartable. I mean, he's only got 1 touchdown of the year, and you probably drafted him as a wide receiver 2, and he's been giving you wide receiver 3 numbers. I mean, he hasn't been showcasing main event out there. And I know in PPR he's basically all systems go because he's the dump-off master, but I just don't know. I mean, I think he's more of a wide receiver 3 in PPR, maybe 2 going forward. I mean, if these targets at all start going down, I mean, he's just going to fall off the face of the earth.
I think he can get you back, though. I mean, Pittsburgh's pass defense is ranked 30th in the league, so you got to feel pretty good about him getting back on track. I think Devontae Parker's got a chance of getting another good game.
I think Parker's a great buy low. I think he's talking about he's fully healthy now, feeling good. I mean, if they start going more downfield, I mean, Devontae Parker's going to be might be that guy in that second half for you. You can probably get him for pennies on the dollar right now, people.
I mean, he only had, 2 catches last week, but they were pretty good chunks.
Yeah, he had like a 50-yard catch out there, like late in the second half.
Yeah, I think he had 9-10 points in PPR and only 2 catches, so
pretty solid production. We're getting, I think it's our last noon game. The Bengals going into New England to play them Tom Brady. Oh, the Patriots needed it. Was that main line, a Tom Brady injection, and oh, how does he do it? He puts the shoulder pads on. He jogs up there. He jogs out there, and he just lights up the world. He really does. 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. All we're talking about. Putting
People are
shoulder
saying
pads
it
on.
might take 3-4 weeks. I heard that on ESPN. 3-4 weeks to get back into the system. Because who's he throwing to?
Practice. What is Tom Brady don't need practice. He puts his shoulder pads on, he jogs up there off the sandy beaches in his naked behind, and he throws for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns.
All he needs is a little practice throwing to his wife out there. That's all he needs. And then he's good to go.
I mean, Gronk, I know, has been completely unsavory until now, but all Gronk needed was that Tom Brady injection.
And we're talking about a huge game from Gronk, and then we're talking about Martellus Bennett, the #1 fantasy tight end. This guy's insane.
6 minutes, 12:06. I was watching Red Zone. They showed me Martellus Bennett face down in the muck out there twitching. Next thing I know, the guy's on the level with 3 touchdowns at about 1:45, and you're on top of the world. I was like, he was face down in the muck twitching, and now he's blowing up the windshields out there. This is great. But I think if you handcuff Gronk with Martellus Bennett, I mean, I think you feel comfortable in PPR leagues starting them both. I mean, we could be talking about old wrestling, the powers of pain out there, people. We could be talking about the powers of pain. Just putting it on. I mean, Edelman's kind of been on the ropes with his foot and, not 100%. So these guys seriously might be the top 2 options in a Tom Brady-led offense. And we're talking about Gronk and Aaron Hernandez minus the murdering.
And talking about Edelman a little bit, I really think if someone is really hating on it, I think you can buy low on him. Because he's still getting the targets. He led the team last week in targets. He just didn't convert those. The only thing that it seems like Tom Brady's off with is his chemistry with Edelman. I think, obviously, the tight end routes aren't nearly as...
Yeah, seam routes are a little easier than, quick little slant. I mean, him and Edelman have to do a lot with timing out there.
Yeah, right. So I think that's the only thing that is missing from Tom Brady right now. But if you can get Edelman really cheap, which I think you can, because he has done next to nothing so far this year.
He could turn into a solid wide receiver, too. Going forward out there, if they can get that timing down and his foot gets in that rear view mirror.
He's been like a wide receiver 3 or 4 for you so far to start the year.
Very pedestrian to start the year. Very pedestrian. So you could probably get him for pennies on the dollar. And I mean, minimum, I think he could be a wide receiver 3 for you going forward. Absolute minimum.
I think his floor going forward is a flex.
Yeah, wide receiver 3 flex, definite floor for him going forward. He could easily turn PPR wide receiver 2. I mean, numbers returned for it, and you could get him for borderline nothing right now. I mean, Tom Brady came back, and he still did nothing, so these people are down in the dumps on Edelman. You can just swoop in there and just pick the bones and take them off to your team's land.
Just vulture it.
We're going to hit on some Bengals out there. Oh, a couple more pages. We're going to talk about sell high on LeGarrette Blount and buy low on James White. James White had
more snaps than Blount last week, and I don't know if it was just the Blount injury or if they're getting more involved with the passing game, and obviously James White is that passing option over LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah, I think you buy low on James White and sell high on LeGarrette Blount. I mean, the LeGarrette Blount still found his way into the end zone last week, so it's not like his value is completely plummeting out there. I think you could still get return value on him. And I don't think LeGarrette Blount's going to continue this RB2 thing going forward with Tom Brady back at the helm. When they're inside the 5 now, they're going to be looking for Gronk and Martellus Bennett, not grinding out there with 3 carries of LeGarrette Blount. Break into some Bengals.
And going into the season, you thought this might be one of the best backfields going in. Just get one of them, and you can probably play both. Is RB2 flex play, but neither one has really contributed. Jeremy Hill lost his starting role last week. got you, I think it was like 1.9 PPR points last week.
I mean, he's averaging 9.6 points a week in PPR. 9.6 points a week with 3 touchdowns on the season is absolutely gross. It is. I mean, 3 touchdowns and average only 9.6? That's awful, people. It is just terrible. And he's only had 3 receptions. Jeremy Hill's only had 3 receptions on the year. And I guess you can say Gio Bernard's been the more reliable guy, but he hasn't really been doing anything either. I mean, 3.5 yards a carry for Gio Bernard. I mean, he's averaging 5 receptions a game, so I mean, in PPR, I guess he is returning RB3 value, which is more than what you could say about Jeremy Hill right now. I mean, Jeremy Hill is,
it's feast or famine completely with Jeremy Hill.
I'm done with him. I think you just bench him, and if he goes out there and somehow gets in the end zone, don't feel bad because the next 3 weeks he's gonna do nothing. Like, don't even flirt with it. It's garbage. I think he's trash.
Yeah, I think going forward, you have to have him on your bench unless you really, really are struggling on bye weeks and need that second running back to fill your roster. But you can't feel confident putting Jeremy Hill in your lineup.
Absolutely none.
Especially if Tyler Eifert comes back. Jeremy Hill has already struggled in the red zone of punching it in. And I think they've only converted on like 4 or 5 red zone opportunities. And Eifert is that main red zone threat that they've got.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The arrow is pointing down for Jeremy Hill, and I don't see any way to feel good about him whatsoever. Moving on to our first 3 o'clock game, going to the Chiefs, going into Oakland to play them Raiders.
Blackjack Del Rio is at it again.
Oh, he's on fire, Raiders. How does he do it? That magical pass from David Carter Crabtree, Blackjack Del Rio.
I mean, what a play call on 4th down.
God, he's a magic man. He is. But, I mean, the Raiders receivers, I mean, Amari Cooper did turn it around for you last week, and Crabtree and Cooper have kind of, they're kind of reliable out there. I think they're more each wide receiver 2s. I don't think either of them was really a wide receiver 1. But, I mean, this Raiders running back situation is gross.
Yeah, it is. You just can't really choose one guy. I mean...
They both got you.
They both got you, 13, 15 points.
I think Washington got you 10. I think Rashard got you 15 out there. And that's okay, but I mean, I just don't know. I mean, with Tavius Murray, they're talking about he might play this week. It is just it might be the murkiest running back situation in the NFL. It is just murky there. You can't trust anything. I mean, unless you're on the ropes with bye weeks and injuries, I wouldn't even consider starting any 3 of these bums.
Jamal Charles looking like he's going to actually get some game time action here. We played last week, but the week before because they had the bye week, but did next to nothing. I think this is a guy that you can finally plug into your roster for the first time this season here.
Oh, I'm feeling good. I think if you're on the ropes and you've been waiting and seeing and your other running back options are poor, I think go ahead and run out old Jamal Charles against the Oakland Raiders this week. I mean, what's their rush defense?
27th against the rush.
Yeah, I mean, if they're talking about even giving him 12 to 15 touches, I think go for it, Jamal Charles, this week. Really run him out there.
And he's going to get you catches on top of it. I mean, I think you can expect at least 3 catches or so out of him.
Oh, yeah.
And in Oakland's, I mean, going back to Oakland, they're 27th in the run game. And that's their strong point on their defense. They are dead last, 32nd against the pass.
So, I mean, this might finally be the week that Jeremy Maclin can get it together out there. I mean, the guy's only got a 54% catch rate on the season. He's only averaging 12 points a week in PPR, which is wide receiver 3, and you drafted him as your wide receiver 2. But I think, like we said, against them Oakland Raiders this week, it might be all systems go out there. Coming off the bye, man, I don't know. I mean, I know Maclin hasn't topped 78 yards receiving this year, but I think this might be the week.
I think I'll take the over on it. I do.
I think Jerry Maclin's going to give you your wide receiver 2 numbers this week. I do. I never talk about Jerry Maclin in the end zone out there.
That's crazy.
All right.
Chiefs receiver touchdown.
Move on to some Falcons going to Seattle to play the Seahawks. And my goodness, Falcons running backs have been blowing up.
Especially Coleman.
They're talking about Coleman, sickle cell trait. Oh, I don't know. He might not play. He might not have that big of a role. And it was just like, pow! The guy went out there and got four receptions for 130 yards. I mean, the guy was just losing his mind out there. He's only got 3.5 yards a carry, which isn't that great, but I mean.
But his value's in the passing game.
He's averaging 18.4 yards a reception.
Which is hardcore. That's your elite top end receivers that can stretch the field.
That is not running back, tight end, average of reception numbers by any means. It isn't. That is elite wide receiver average of reception numbers. I mean, what are they doing? There must be Wheel Route Deluxe Central out there. I mean,
and Freeman's looked solid too. I think both of these guys are RB2 worthy.
Oh yeah, I mean, these guys are solid RB2 plays going forward. Both of them. The Falcons are just somehow just churning out those running back numbers. It's ridiculous. Both of these guys are very productive these last 3 or 4 weeks. Just out of their minds productive. I want to talk about a little Seattle running back here, Christine Michael. And this guy's had average 22 touches these last 2 games where he's got over 20 fantasy points in PPR in each of them. And I mean, we're talking, I know I don't really like the guy, but how can you not value him as a RB3, RB2 going forward for the rest of the way? I mean, Thomas Rawls, I think, is dead in the water. They're talking about how he's not going to be back for another few weeks. And I mean, I know C.J. Spiller was resurrected from the dead the other week, but I don't think that's anything really to be worried about. Moving on to Cowboys-Packers.
All right, we got... What's that? Is that in Green Bay?
Yep.
Is that Lambeau?
Up in Lambeau.
So even though it's in Lambeau, I mean, Elliott, he's got a tough matchup. The Packers have been number 1 against the run. But I've still taken my money on Elliott. This guy is just looking like he's on another level.
Super stud territory. The guy has averaged 162 scrimmage yards in the last 3 games. I mean, that is godlike, people. I mean, that's incredible. And I mean, I know the Packers have been number 1 against the run, but I mean, this guy's going to be a top 3.
I don't think they've seen.
Yeah, I don't think they're ready for the Dallas.
Elliott
they haven't seen the Dallas O-line and a player caliber of Ezekiel Elliott. And we're talking about, I mean, easy top 5 running back this week. I mean, maybe top 3. I mean, seriously, even against the number 1 run D of the Green Bay Packers. Why not? All right, Colts and Texans.
T.Y., like I said earlier this year, I was scared for him for a while. I thought he might have his role diminished with Moncrief and Dorsett kind of stealing some action from him. But T.Y. has seen 10 or more targets in every single game this year so far.
In 2 of the last 3 games, he's had 30 fantasy points in PPR and over 170 yards in those 2 games that I just talked about. I mean, my goodness. I mean, he's stud muffin material out there. I mean, he's the number 2 wide receiver in PPR right now, people. I mean, he started slow, and these last couple of weeks, last 2 or 3 weeks, he's just been out of his damn mind.
And I know Houston's number 1 against the pass, but still, I don't think you can think about not having this guy in your lineup.
Oh, don't even consider. I don't care who he's playing. I don't care if it's the steel curtain of back in the day. I mean, you got to start a guy.
Purple Rain.
Purple Rain. I mean, even if T.Y. Hilton is playing the Vikings, I think you got to run him out there. I mean, the guy's had 2 of the last 3 weeks over 170 receiving yards. I mean, that's incredible.
He's had
400 receiving yards in the last 3 weeks. I mean, my God.
I think he's the number 2 wide receiver right now in fantasy.
Yeah, that's what I said. No, number 2 wide receiver in PPR leagues right now. I mean, that's incredible.
And talking about some buy lows, I think Lamar Miller, if there's any time that he's finally going to get it going, I think it's against this Indianapolis D. He had a very tough matchup last week, but you couldn't have expected only 3 points in PPR, not even getting involved in the passing game. But I think this is finally a time where Lamar Miller might hit 100 yards rushing, might find the end zone for the first time.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, he's only got 15.7 as his high watermark in PPR so far this season, and he's averaging 11.9, which isn't that bad, but that's not RB1 where people are drafting him into the first, beginning of the second. I mean, he's not returning that. But I'm saying he's a great buy low right now.
Even the likes of TJ Yeldon in London was able to total over 100 yards against the Colts D.
I mean, this guy has still 2 games left against the Colts. Still got 2 games left against the Jaguars. He's still got to play Oakland, and he's still got to play San Diego, who are both very poor against the run. I mean, that is 6 cherry games still left on the schedule, people. And if he can't get it together, I mean, this is his time. If he's not going to get it together in these games, he's never going to get it together.
Yeah, I think he's a fantastic buy low candidate. Let's go out west here where we got Arizona against them New York Jets.
I mean, David Johnson's out of his mind.
It's incredible. We told you last week it could get crazy against that San Fran D,
And
it did.
Oh, did. We said he was going to be the number 1 running back last week, hands down, and he went out there and he did it, people. Even with Ezekiel Elliott running wild, and David Johnson still did a little bit better. This guy's averaging 22 touches a game. He's averaging 139 yards from scrimmage in 5 weeks. I mean, that is incredible.
And it looks like Carson Palmer's coming back too. So I know one of the hot waiver wire pickups was that downtown John Brown, who went out and got you laid at 2 for you. But I think, if you're struggling and you need a flex, I think John Brown's not a bad play against this New York Jets pass defense that ranks 31st.
They've been giving up the deep balls all year. They gave up 2 passes over 70 yards to Tyrod Taylor and the Buffalo Bills, a guy like Goodwin.
And no one named Sammy Watkins.
And yeah, no one named Sammy Watkins. They gave up a 70-yarder to Sammy Coates. They give up these deep balls, and you know what downtown likes to do. He likes to go downtown, and I think he's going to have his chance out there at home against this worthless Jets secondary out there.
And Fitzgerald is still magic.
He is.
It's incredible.
All systems go Fitzgerald. Borderline wide receiver 1, strong wide receiver 2, rest of the... till further notice. I know he fell off last year. Till further notice, I'd say strong wide receiver 2 play Larry Fitzgerald.
And I know this kind of sounds like a hot take, but I think you got to sit Matt Forte this week.
Gotta sit him.
It's a tough matchup, but not even that. This guy's been cold past 3 weeks. Bilal Powell has outscored Matt Forte the past 3 weeks here.
Forte had 8, 6, and 8. Powell had 12, 13, and 11. Forte was averaging 30 yards a game those first 2 weeks of the season, and people are high on him. Oh, there's a Matt Forte, the number 1 overall fantasy player, and the last 3 weeks just haven't been that. His touches per game has been cut in half. He's only been averaging 15 touches a game these last 3 weeks, and his passing involvement is really not there. And Blue Powell's just out there outproducing him, and I'm afraid if he starts getting more of the work, and Matt Forte owners should be deathly afraid of the situation, people.
Yeah, and he's not getting any younger either.
No. He's looking sluggish. My goodness. If he stops getting these touches, which have kind of been weaning him down these last 3 weeks, he might turn into RB3 territory. It might get like that out there, and that is not very savory.
All right, what else we got here?
And that's the end of the road.
That's it.
That's the end of the road.
All right.
All the way gone.
Goodbye.
To the end of the road. All right, people. I'm delirious. I've been talking to you for too long. I'm singing Boys to Men.
Make sure to like us on Facebook. Subscribe,
like our YouTube videos. We love when you do that, people. We actually do. Ask us questions down below. We love that too. We are all in. If you are still listening to us over an hour in, I love it.
Follow us on the Twitter. We love Twitter. That's always a good time.
I'm hitting you with the Twitter. I like to get in Twitter arguments, people. I live for it. I do.
Thanks a lot for watching. We'll catch you next week.